Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It is 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. I look forward to talking to you guys tonight. Please let me know when you are here. Type in the chat box that you have joined us so that I know you are here. A lot of times the system doesn't let me know even when you do type, so feel free to type again. So I do want to welcome you to Insights with Ivanna. This is a weekly broadcast designed to help you identify, embrace, and live more fully in your genius by illuminating important pieces of information you actually already possess. So tonight is our 9th week of our 12-week series exploring pathways to positivity. So hello, I am Ivanna, the founder and chief luminary officer of Luminary Insights, an intuitive life coaching brand. Tonight we explore awe. This is the 9th step of this pathway to positivity, and we're going to see how it helps us increase psychological strength, good mental habits, social connections, and physical health. All right, I see a number popped up, which I think means someone has joined us. So please say hello in the chat box so that I know you are here. So just like inspiration, which we discussed last week, all can be found almost anywhere, in just about anything, and at any time. Hello, Jody G. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you made it. Barbara Fredrickson, in her book, Positivity, says that awe, like gratitude and inspiration, is a self-transcendent emotion. I'm going to repeat that. I was in awe when I read this. Gratitude and inspiration and awe are self-transcendent emotions. And that compels us to see ourselves as part of something much larger. And I just love that idea. And Krista, I see you are here. You are supposed to be bending spoons with Miche. So you weren't able to get in. I'm so sorry. Maybe you can come in April when I go as well. So Miche is a friend of ours, Miche Meisner, amazing lady, and who just has been through so much and transcended that herself and does some really amazing things like bending spoons. Maybe I'll put a link to her spoon bending class to the end of this session so that if those of you that are available for her next class can join, be there with me. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I'm looking forward to bending my spoon, which would be awe-inspiring and self-transcending. So, self-transcendent emotion is what awe is. It compels us to see ourselves as something much larger than ourselves. So that quote just makes me think of so many different things. But before we get into that, I want you to take a second and type a word or two in the chat of something that puts you in awe. I'm going to try using some of my features tonight and see if they will decide to work with me or not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I'm going to open a card you should have on your screen, fingers crossed. The question, what puts you in awe? I've actually had this kick people out before, so I quit using it for a while. So we will see how it goes. Hopefully the question is up there. What puts you in awe? Type 1 or 2 words in the chat box. What puts you in awe? It can be so many different things. Just like with inspiration, it can be something in nature. It can be something about a person. It can be something commonplace that somehow inspires awe. So I'm looking forward to seeing a word, and we will go deeper into that word later. So just for now, a word or two, something that inspires awe. So while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about the idea of self-transcendent or moving out of ourselves. So for me, I think of when my son was born. It was the ultimate example in my personal experience of awe. Like I looked at him and I said, wow, how did that thing come out of me? Well, okay, I'll be a little more serious. That was one of my thoughts. But my real thought of awe was that this is so much bigger than me. Like God has to exist. How could all of these pieces be woven together to create this tiny little human being who comes out of my body and then survives on his own? I mean, wow, totally awe-inspiring. So for many people, the birth of a baby is something that they would list as something that brings awe. All right, so Krista said nature and also love. Jody said the sunset. So we're getting some really cool, awe-inspiring things. Things that are almost undescribable. When you're watching them, it's like you're not even in your body. It's like you are in this perfect flow. That's that word we come to all the time. It's that miracle state where everything is right. Everything is connected. It's an amazingly powerful place to be. And that's what awe does for us. It helps us transcend ourselves and realize there's so much more than maybe the physical problem we're having at the moment or worrying about how we're going to pay our bills, that there's so much more to life. And when we're talking about positivity, that sense of awe, it may not happen that often. You know, we're number 9 of our 10 things as far as how frequently these positivity things happen, but the power is there, that power of awe. So this type of positivity is so powerful. It can be found in little things, it can be found in big things, it can be found in unexpected places. So just this week, I've had a very strange physical malady. I have a salivary gland stone, which is something even a lot of the medical professionals have never heard about. And if I'm going to do something physically, I'm going to do something unique, right? So I don't know if many of you noticed, but my hair is flipped to the opposite side. I don't have as much swelling as I did before. It was huge. My whole face was out to here, but there's still some swelling, so I just covered it with my hair. But it was hot, it was painful, it was swollen. So what does that have to do with awe? Well, one thing about awe, for me, just like looking at my baby being born and the idea of how there's got to be something greater than me for all of these physical things to be happening, it's the same idea for me. I look at my body and I go, oh my gosh, number one, what's going on? We had no idea what was going on. It happened so fast. It just kept getting bigger for 2 days. And then when the doctor says you have a stone in your salivatory gland, it's like, isn't that cool? Like, there had to be real creativity to come up with this idea that these little stones can form. We've heard of them, you know, when people are trying to get a kidney stone out, but now I've got this thing that's going to eventually pop out of my mouth, and I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely in awe of the fact that my body can make this thing, and that this little tiny thing can have such a huge impact on my entire body. I truly am in awe of the things that our bodies can do. And with all the strange medical issues that I have, it's a good thing I find them interesting. Yes, it's synchronicity, it's everything, destiny. Yes, I'm always unique. Thank you for loving me anyway. But one of the other things that Dr. Fredrickson says about awe, not just that it's self-transcendent, but that it sits on the edge of fear. So that awe, sometimes people don't think of awe as being positive because there's that edge of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? So in the birth of my son, there's also this fear. What if everything's not okay? And it wasn't, but there was still that awe. The sudden swelling in my face, oh my gosh, what could it be? So there's that fear, that what if? And so that fear brings even more energy into that feeling of awe. So I don't know how many of you followed the Kilauea eruption in Hawaii in 2018, but I was totally in awe. I could not stop watching it. My husband would catch me late at night on my phone watching. I could tell him, fissure 8 just opened. This is unbelievable. You know, fissure 3 just did this. I knew all the fissures. I watched how the houses were overcome with the lava, how the people spoke with full acceptance that it was, I get chills thinking about it, that it was Pele's land and it was Pele's right to reclaim that land. There was no sense of individual and ownership. So not only was the lava mesmerizing and awe-inspiring for me, it did sort of take me to that place of flow, watching the blackness as the heat would cool just a little bit, watching the red, watching how the flows and the sputters. That took me to a place of flow. But it also inspired me when I was listening to the people and listening to the way that they were accepting and seeing how the community rallied together and supported each other. They trusted in their faith and in their culture. You could tell that they clearly realized that there was something much greater than them, something even greater than their community, that the whole cosmos was sort of there and together. And again, I go back to that word resilience, that this positivity brings us to a place of resilience. And when you think of a pregnant woman birthing a child, the resilience that we have to make that happen. And then even the child taking the first breath and the volcano erupting and the land being reclaimed, all of that is awe-inspiring, and the resilience of the people that go through that. So, how does all of this tie into this chart that we always keep going back to. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat for the chart. So I know some of you have seen the chart before, and hopefully you have actually been looking at it and using it to help you figure out some of these answers. So let's see if I can get it where you can see it again. So the top part of the chart is filled in. The bottom part of the chart just has these 4 attributes that we're working on. And then you have the place to do things you don't like and things that you want. So for me on the chart, when I'm looking at psychological strengths, mental habits, social connections, and physical health, each of these different attributes that we're looking at have helped me grow in one way or another. So we've talked about joy, and then we talked about gratitude and serenity and interest. We went on to talk about hope and pride and amusement, and last week inspiration, and now awe. And each of these have helped me grow in a different way. And from what I've heard from you guys, they're helping you as well. So when I think about awe, that really taps in for me into my mental habits, moving away from my multitasking approach and moving into my mindfulness. It kind of also taps into the social connections of being able to relax a little bit more, but it really taps into mindfulness for me as I'm watching the lava flow, as I'm looking at my newborn baby, as I'm trying to get my stone to move out of my jaw so it will stop hurting. Those things are awe-inspiring for me, and they bring me to a place of mindfulness and greater connectedness and a sense of awe, realizing there's something so much bigger than me. So each of these opportunities for positivity actually help us grow with our psychological strength, our mental habits, our social connections, and our physical health. So I would love to hear from you a little bit more about what brings you awe and what about that helps you. How does that tap into any of these 4 things that we've just talked about in the chart? What does it do for your life? So I'm going to give you just a second. I'm going to hold the chart up again in case you don't have it printed out, to look at these 4 topics that are right along the side here, and share with me in the chart when you are in awe of that sunset, or you are in awe of something in nature, in awe of the birth of a baby. How can that positivity, how can that emotion in you help you increase your psychological strength, or help you develop even better mental habits, or social connections, or your physical health? So go ahead and type in the chat box more about what puts you into that state of awe. And again, if you haven't yet used the chart, it's quite all right just to think about the awe and what it is, what it does for you. So while you're writing, I do want to just give a little bit of tribute to each of you, those of you that are on with me tonight, those of you that have been on in previous broadcasts, and those of you that often tell me that you watch the replays. I know different things about different ones of you, and I know that each of you have been through so many different things, and I actually stand in awe of your greatness, each of you. I know that some of you have suffered devastating illnesses. Some of those illnesses are things that linger. Some of those are things that come and go. Many of us have lost loved ones, some of them human, some of them furry. Some of them we've lost through death. Some of them we've lost through separations, such as divorce. Some of you have lost jobs. You wonder how you're going to pay your next bills. You wonder even where you're going to sleep in some cases, with the history I know of some people that have been in this group. Many of you have felt abandoned by other people and even felt abandoned by God. Some, in material terms, truly lost it all. And yet, each of you seek positivity. You still seek it, you still believe it's there, and you still believe that it's attainable. You are all amazingly resilient, and I truly do stand in awe of each of you. And I thank you for being here. You are what keep me going on these broadcasts after a long day of work, after a swollen jaw and pain. I am in awe of each of you. So let's see what you have put into the chat box. Yes, Jody, more warhead candy for me to try to get this stone out. All right, Jody says, on a serious note, being in awe helps me to slow down and appreciate the good things and take focus away from stress. So yes, that whole idea of self-transcendence, we're stressed because we're focused on us. We're focused on what's impacting us. And when we're able to be in awe, when we're able to watch that sunset, when we're able to see something or do something that puts us in that state of awe, we leave that need to focus on ourselves. We're able to step away. We're able to join and truly be part of that larger thing. Hi, Patty Williams, and welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's see what Krista has to say. Walking down a dirt road, seeing the light filtering through the trees, does all of those things. It gives me peace, which is the psychological. It clears my mind, helps my physical body, and I'm with a friend. It's social, even better. So bringing all of those things in there in just one event, that's amazing. So I don't know about you, but before I started doing this particular series, I didn't think about those things. I didn't think, positivity can impact me in so many ways. And Barbara Fredrickson talks about how it builds up. It builds and builds and builds. It's like building your muscle. So each of these deposits we put into our positivity bank help us when something bigger might come along where it might be harder to be positive. And so realizing that just walking down a dirt road and paying attention to the light, paying attention to the trees, maybe paying attention to who's around you or how the wind is blowing on your face, that can actually strengthen you in such important areas as your psychological strengths, mental habits, social connections, and physical health. That's amazing. Thank you, Krista, for sharing that. Very exciting. All right, I am going to transition just a little bit unless we see some more answers in the chat box. Those are fantastic, fantastic examples. Because what I want us to do tonight is try an activity to help us actually look for and discover awe in the things that are just sort of common and around us all the time that we might not even notice. Many people wouldn't notice walking down the dirt road. They wouldn't pay attention to the trees or pay attention to the light. They might just be focused on where they're going. But before I do that, I wonder if anybody tried the writing activity last week. I know one person did because she sent me a picture of her writing. Last week I had asked you to use your non-dominant hand to just do sort of a stream of consciousness writing about inspiration, what inspires you, and see what bubbles up. Because very often when we use our non-dominant hand, it ties into our subconscious in a different way. And we can actually be very surprised at what's revealed to us. It can kind of be a sense of awe when you realize that there are things in your subconscious that you might not really be aware that are there on the conscious level. So if anybody that's on tonight took the opportunity to do that writing activity and wants to share about it, I'd love to hear about that in the chat. Because tonight we're going to do an activity together, and then I'm going to encourage you to do that same writing activity afterwards to see if it will take you deeper into what we're working on together. So I'll pause for just a second to see if anybody wants to share if they tried the writing activity. It's never too late to try it. You don't even have to have a topic. Just in case you weren't here, I'll just talk about it a little bit more. When you write with pen and paper, it taps into your psyche in a different way than when you type on a computer. And when you do that writing with your non-dominant hand, it allows your subconscious to sort of relax and free up and share things that your conscious mind isn't really able to hear at the moment because you're so used to using your dominant hand. When you're using your non-dominant hand, you're focusing on how do I hold the pencil, how do I make this letter look like it's supposed to look, how do I move it up, how do I move it down. And when your brain is so focused on those physical activities, you're actually able to free up that subconscious to share some things and to hear it in a way that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And so it's a very powerful writing activity. You can write by asking questions. You can write by just being in a stream of consciousness. I will often write, my handwriting with my dominant hand is terrible, so it's really bad with my non-dominant, but I will write truly stream of consciousness, like, this is really crazy. Why am I writing this? This is going to hurt my hand. I can't read it anyway. Why am I doing this? And then my mind will just start going in a different direction. But you can also go in with that specific question, right? What inspires me? What is it I could be doing in my life that would inspire me that I'm not doing yet? What is it I could be doing in my life that would fill me with awe and help me grow? So you can truly guide it, or you can let it go. Your subconscious is going to take over either way, I promise. The example that was sent to me, I think, was done in a pretty short amount of time. It was just a few sentences. Could have been a long time in a few sentences, but you can sometimes write entire pages and then go back and really glean what it was that your subconscious was trying to tell you. Let's see, Jody says, I didn't get a chance to try it, but I'm going to try it. Does it still work if you are... It looks like you said ambitious, but I assume you mean ambidextrous. If you're ambidextrous, that's a great question. I'm sure it works if you're ambitious, but if you're ambidextrous, I would say go with your least dominant hand. Usually people who are ambidextrous, even if they can write with both hands or do a lot of things with both hands, one is a little bit stronger than the other. And so go with your least dominant hand. You can also just close your eyes and ask yourself which hand to use, and trust your subconscious on that. So, yeah, that's a great question. I would love to be ambidextrous. That would be really cool. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to do an activity to help you approach your surroundings with fresh eyes, to look at things in your environment as if you are seeing them for the first time. So we are going to look for awe within the ordinary. So I'm going to ask you to just gaze around the room. Just look around the room and see what you are drawn to. What does your eye fall on? We're going to look at these ordinary objects. Just kind of look around. And I did this activity earlier, and I'm going to tell you about it as I'm walking you through it. Look around and see what your eyes fall on. And as soon as you're drawn to something, just pause there and take a look at that. And as you're looking at it, not like a hard stare, more like a soft gaze. Almost like you're kind of in a fog or you're in a daze. And just begin to look at that object. I'll give you a second till you find that object. And once you've found that object, what we're going to do is we're going to breathe deeply for 3 breaths. You're going to inhale all the way to the bottom of your belly, but then you're going to exhale like you're exhaling through a straw. Okay, so we're going to take our first breath together, all the way down to your belly. And then out through a straw. Press it out as far as you can. And you can go at your own pace if mine is too slow or too fast. Breathe in again. Deep down. And out through a straw. Try to get all that old stale air out. You're going to do it one more time. Hopefully you feel your shoulders starting to relax. You're still gazing at your item, and your gaze should be getting even softer. Keep breathing now at a normal pace, and allow your mind to sort of wander. You're still looking at your object, but allow your mind to sort of wander. You can also wonder about the object. You can wonder, why were my eyes drawn to this object? You can ask yourself, what did my subconscious see that my conscious has not yet registered? And you can ask your subconscious to show you that. Keep looking at your item. Don't try to force anything. Just let it come. When I did this activity earlier, my eyes were drawn to my cell phone, which at first was kind of no surprise because I live on it. But I asked my subconscious to show me why. And I began to see the glassy reflection over the darkness. And I thought, it looks a little bit like a deep lake or an abyss. but I know inside it's full of power and color and technological wonder. And then I realized that that's kind of similar to my future, that I see so little of it, but I know that it's wonderful and it's full of power and it's full of goodness. And that brought me to that sense of awe, just by looking at my cell phone that I look at 1,000 times a day. So now I'm going to ask you to continue to ask your subconscious to share a message about this not so ordinary object that your eyes were drawn to. And we're going to let you sit with that for just a moment. Continue to ask your subconscious for any message. Why were you drawn to this object? What awe can you find in this common thing? I know some of you want to be done, and others of you probably want more time. Thank your subconscious for taking you as far as it did, however far that is. And then I'm going to encourage you to try the same writing exercise that we tried last time. Use that non-dominant hand and ask your subconscious specifically this time, what else do you want to show me about this object? What awe can I find in this commonplace object? So if you're willing to share anything about the experience, please do. Even if what you share is that nothing seemed to happen, that's okay. The idea of that activity is to begin to get you to think about things in a different way. Begin to notice what your eyes are drawn to. Begin to ask yourself, why am I seeing this? You know, we have so much information that comes at us every day, and our brain filters things out based on what it believes we think is important, and we miss an awful lot. And part of that's good because that protects us from being overwhelmed. But there's so much out there, so much we can be in awe of if we start looking for it, if we start asking for it. That miracle of flow that we talked about, it's there, it's all around us. We just forget to step into it sometimes because we forget it's there. So if anybody wants to share anything about that activity, I was shocked. I will tell you, as I was writing it, the activity was coming to me. This is not something that I've done before. The activity was coming to me. And so I said, well, if I'm going to do an activity, I've got to do it myself. And that's what happened. I was drawn. My phone is right where it was before. I was drawn to the phone. I'm like, really, my phone? You know, but then when I listened, it was so powerful to know that I can look at something that is so commonplace and truly find a message within it, a message of awe, that there's so much I don't know, but I do trust and believe that it's going to be great. So, I don't see anything in the chat box yet. I will tell you while I'm waiting for you to type that next week is step 10 in the pathway to positivity. So we have 12 sessions. Session 1 was an introduction. We have 10 steps in the pathway to positivity. Today is step 9. And then we will have one more session where we kind of wrap it all up and bring it all together. So I really do hope that you will join me next week for step 10 in our pathway of positivity. We know the pathway never ends, but this particular pathway is wrapping up for us. And then we will come together for the wrap up. And so I would love to know from you, is there any particular topic that you would like me to explore next? Typically, I do topics that have a number of steps so that we have a series, but a series can be 2, a series can be 12. If it's something that I'm able to do, I would love to hear from you what you would like me to do next. All right, I am seeing some comments in the chat box. Yay, Jody's looking forward to it. Okay, Krista, I would probably take too long to write all that I noticed and heard from my subconscious. Short story, little stuffed dog. Okay to have a soft underbelly to be soft and lovable. Wow. Krista, that's exciting. Thank you for sharing. And I hope that you will take the time to write some of that out and see if there's more information that your subconscious wants to share. It's powerful. And it's powerful for you to share that with us because that's probably a message we all need to hear. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's amazing how much we know. Just like at the beginning of each of my broadcasts, I talk about the fact that what I'm doing in my work is helping you discover things you already know. You already possess the pieces. You already possess the information. You already know what your genius is and what you need to do to bring it out. You just don't realize you know it. And maybe you can't hear it. I always think about, the loud rock music is playing and your alarm clock's going off, but you can't hear the alarm clock because of the rock music, right? We have to quiet the things that are keeping us from hearing the things that we need to hear the most. So awesome. Let's see if there's any more comments. If you have any suggestions on what you would like me to talk about in the next series, feel free to drop that in the chat now or to contact me with that later. Yes, definitely something we need to hear, Jody says. Great. So it was great to have you here tonight. And I want to thank you for joining me on the Pathway to Positivity. Remember, if you're interested in going deeper, you can go to the website, myluminaryinsights.com, and fill out the form at Let's Talk, and we can explore even more. I am so glad you joined tonight as well, Krista, although I am looking forward to bending my spoon in April. So I will add that to the information in the chat box after the broadcast. I will look that up. So please do me a favor, share this broadcast with your friends, share it with your enemies, anybody who think you might, that might benefit from it, who might want to walk this pathway to positivity and illuminate their genius. So you can also email me, Ivanna, Ivanna, at myluminaryinsights.com. I appreciate you guys so much. I don't think I put the website in the chat. Let me throw that in the chat too. I'm not good at this cut and paste while talking. There we go. There's myluminaryinsights.com, and here is my email address. I would love to hear from you if you want to share more about your experience in the broadcast. So I do try to keep this at about 30 minutes, and we've gone to 32. Thank you for being here tonight, and I appreciate you guys so much. I truly mean it when I say I stand in awe of you. Have a great night.